Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by for another installment of me talking on camera about the stuff that you see in front of you. Little update on the micro Tacoma here. I've kind of been doing just some random stuff to it. It's kind of been a primary little focus truck for me the last couple weeks, just because I'm so enamored with it. I finally gave it the Mofo brushless. As you can see in there, that's now Nano Beast, and that is sitting on the Albin designed aluminum gearbox mount, and then of course that's running overdrive transmission, overdrive front end transmission, so basically stock gears in both of the axles, but just 14% overdriven at the gearbox. What else did I do to this thing? Oh, yeah, this little mod here was probably like one of the larger, bigger ones that kind of took a little while just because it was a bit of a pain in the butt, and it's basically just this. It's pretty simple. You can see I took magnets, neodymium magnets, and I glued them into the corners of the bed here. I was trying to go for all four corners, but I realized the difficulty involved in getting them to stay in those spots there, so I kind of figured two was going to be enough, and it ended up being exactly right. So anyway, I put those in, and they're just slightly below the surface. I did that for the reason of, on the underside of the piece of tin that I used, I just took like, I don't know, like Campbell's soup can lid and cut out like tiny little circles that would be like the same size as what those are. And then, of course, once those were glued in place, what I did was actually put those two little pieces of tin on those and then put drops of glue there, and then snapped this into place and let that dry overnight. And so then when I went to pick that up in the morning, of course, I've got those little tabs right there are now glued down. So that, of course, is my tonneau cover, which hides the battery and kind of snaps nice and neatly into place. And you know, if that ever gets deformed or whatever, or scratched up, that's not going to be a problem. It's going to kind of have some little bit of weathering effect and stuff, and I can kind of form it back if I ever need to. And so the other thing that I did was I drilled, and this would probably be, I don't know what size hole that is, like maybe like a 3/64 or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what size bit that was. Anyway, I took it out to just under the size of an M2, and then I kind of forced that M2 through, which cut a couple of threads, which was enough to hold the spare tire on. A matching spare, mind you, at least a matching tire, not necessarily a matching rim, but what do you want, huh? So on to the next little thing, and that would be, you can't really see it inside here. Maybe you can see it over from here. I kind of created a little aluminum bracket to hold the ESC and all the electronics on. You can sort of see it from down underneath here. Yeah, that's not a bad angle. So basically I followed the whole pattern of the inner two holes on this and cut an angle, and then that piece, of course, comes straight across the top of the gearbox, and then I left a little bit tabbed out to the front, which we can see kind of angled up here. And so all I did was scored my lines with a sharp edge, and then just kind of held that against something flat, and then bent those, and then just very simply made a bracket that will hold my electronics and kind of offsets that from where the motor is. And that worked out pretty well. And like, I just used longer screws to set that in. Of course, I also took like rounded nose pliers and kind of formed the bottoms of that. As you can see, kind of wraps around a little bit better. This side turned out a little nicer than the other side did. You know, a little filing, a little cleanup, stuff like that. I didn't paint it black just because I didn't want it black. I could eventually if I wanted to, probably should. And then of course, this kind of worked out pretty well. I think the power switch is just literally poke your finger in right through the door window, right through the window of the door, and then you can, with your fingernail, just reach in and shut that back off. So that worked out really well. I still have a couple of available channels on the 4-channel over here. So plan would be down the road to populate the light buckets on the roof rack, and then also the 2 spaces. They're not real spaces, but there are spots where holes can be drilled in through, and so I think those will hold a 3mm LED inside, and probably like, I mean, these really actually are made for 3 mils up front. I just don't know if I want lights that large up on top. And so that kind of leads me to this whole roof rack setup thing, which if you know what you're looking at, you know you're looking at a Mini Z 4Runner roof rack sitting on there. I had a spare because I rolled that Mini Z a long time ago, it doesn't even matter, and broke a piece off the middle of it, and so that's kind of been sitting around, and I was looking at it like, hey, wait a second, I wanted something for the top of this to kind of help protect it in a way, but also to add to the look, kind of the overland kind of, and that is the lid off of one of these tiny little boxes right here. And so what that is just spray painted from the inside, and I also sprayed it from the outside, and that's with like that quick drying stove black. And then of course the exterior I hit with just some matte clear to kind of help protect it a little bit, and rollovers, it'll give you 1 or 2 scratches, and if it does scratch, then of course it's black from the inside out, of course being clear, which will, you know, kind of help keep that appearance intact. What else? Oh, that's a Proline rim on there that I'm using for the spare, and that is just kind of like their standard plastic beadlock. If you've had any of like their trenchers or anything along those lines, you know that that's kind of what comes with that. It's pretty standard for them. And so what else have I got going on here? That's about it. I mean, I think at this point it runs really well. I was looking at switching up the front shocks. I wanted to see if I could get a matched set going on, but then I realized once I was under there that I need the mount points for everything up front, and other than that the motor would be right directly in the way for moving the shocks a little further back, angling back if I were to put those racing shocks on here, the red ones. So I've done what I feel is probably about the best that I'm going to be able to do with this in its state, and I don't dislike it at all. In fact, I like it a lot. It's really not even that important to me that this has the greatest suspension in the world. It's got a little bit of rebound. It feels pretty good, and that's about that right there. So I was even thinking about, where is that thing? Trying to put the Mini Z spare tire rack onto the bumper, which would have involved drilling a couple of holes into this very nicely detailed bumper and possibly covering up that sticker. And I'm like, you know, it just doesn't make sense. I've already got this made. It's on here already, and that's kind of what led me to the whole rooftop tent idea, utilizing the cover from this thing. It's something I think I've done in the past where I've actually used a whole one of these and painted the thing black. And I thought, well, wait a second here. That kind of ties into the line of the bar that comes across there. So a little bit of cutting to kind of get it to fit the top there, and use some CLA glue, and there it is. So that's about it, I think. The brushless is awesome in this. It's still running an Emax. I haven't had any issues with that. I think, like I said, I'm probably going to work on doing some lights next. I did add the fuzzy dice up front. Well, they're not really fuzzy, they're just dice. And of course they don't move, and that's because I've lost these and found them at least probably 3 or 4 different times when they've been in like the D90 that they used to be in. And then the larger set, which is these that were in the TF2, I lost last summer, and actually happened to find, as I was walking the trail back with the truck, I had realized that I lost them, and I was like, oh shoot, you know, hopefully I see them. And it just so happened that I did find them on my way back, and so there's those. So the next time I think when those go in, I'm gonna have to figure out something to scale those better. That's about that. I didn't really have any video for the last week and a half or so. I got a real nasty comment from somebody who took it upon themselves to make a pseudo account for them right about the time that they posted this comment, saying something to the regards, you know, that their channel clearly is so much better than mine, and so on and so forth. It was for obvious reasons. Mine hasn't had any growth and hasn't done anything, etc., etc., etc. Kind of said some really like personal attack things and stuff like that. And I mean, I guess if you're that kind of fun, and lot that makes that sort of comment on somebody's page, then that's who you are, you know. But you know, the coward that it takes to be that kind of person, to make a pseudo account, some sort of fake account, and then come to somebody's YouTube page and drop a comment like that, you know, I mean, you'll get yours someday. I mean, and I just kind of rest assured that I won't have anything to do with it. You know, your own shit's going to fall down upon you, and that's what you can bank on. So anyway, thanks for watching. The internet sucks sometimes. I try not to let it get me down too much, but it is what it is, and that's what it is. Thanks for sticking around. See you later.